Hey, it's Logan Christopher here with the Legendary Strength Podcast, and I'm super excited about this episode today because I have a very special guest, Al Kavadlo, who, if you're not familiar with him, is quite an extraordinary bodyweight training guy, and we're going to be talking about a lot of really cool stuff, got some great questions in store. I've known of Al for a long time, but this will actually be my first time really meeting him on the phone. So thanks for joining us today, Al.
Thanks for having me, Logan.
Yeah, we should have a lot of fun. So could you give a little background for people that haven't heard of you? How did you get into what you're doing these days?
Well, like a lot of people, I started off as a kid just getting into strength training because, I was, you and I were similar. We were both kind of skinny kids who wanted to put on some muscle. Mm-hmm. And over the years, that, hobby eventually led to a career. And now I've got a couple books out and a DVD, and things have been going pretty well.
Awesome.
So what? Most people, if they don't know me, my main focus, like you, is also on the bodyweight strength.
Mhm. What led you to focusing on bodyweight rather than going any other route?
It was a gradual sort of thing. I started out in the beginning, doing push-ups and pull-ups, and also doing some weights. Got into bench presses and a lot of the usual teenage guy stuff. Then in my 20s, started finally getting into doing legs. Like a lot of, teenagers in the beginning, legs did not really interest me that much. But, over time, I came to try a lot of different things. And as a trainer, came to start exploring different stuff. And the more I saw bodyweight exercises, the more they appealed to me. I remember the first time I saw a pistol squat was probably 10 or 11 years ago now. And that was definitely a game changer for me. And, like a lot of people, I underestimated how hard it would be. Thought that I'd just be able to go ahead and jump right in and do it. And, of course, as anyone who tries to do a pistol quickly finds out, you get humbled pretty fast. And then after that one, muscle up was a big game changer for me. Same thing when I first saw that. I was like, that's cool. I bet I can do that. And it was like, nope, can't do that. And, gradually learning those skills gave me a better appreciation for it. And then, that every time you think you've seen everything, you see a new exercise, and you got to try that one too, right?
Yeah, most people, they think, seeing me or you these days, that, we've always been really strong at doing this, but I remember I couldn't even come close to doing a handstand push-up the first time. I had no flexibility for a bridge. I had to work a few weeks just to be able to do a pistol, so everything can be built from the ground up. It's a process you have to go through.
It's the only way to build it, I think, is from the ground up.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get into...
You get it because you walk the walk yourself. Like I've been really impressed with the stuff of yours that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, I have to thank you very much for a couple things. I want to mention those. I saw in one of your videos, it was I don't know if you have a name for it, but I was calling it the back lever leg raises, where you're in the back lever position and basically doing hyperextension, a reverse.
Yeah, like reverse hyperextension hanging off the
bar.
That
exercise is really fun.
Yeah. Well, you got to be pretty strong if you can have fun doing that one.
Yeah. That and the tiger bend. I saw you do the tiger bend, and I think that was on the Dragon Door forum. Asked you, okay, what led you to do that? You said, I believe your answer was something, just a lot of freestanding handstand push-ups. So I started working on those more, and then I was eventually able to get the tiger bend. It was ugly, but I managed one. So I have to thank you for it.
I'm still working on getting that one cleaner myself.
Yeah.
So, all this stuff's always a work in progress. Yeah,
it's amazingly tough skill to do.
Yeah, that's one of those skills that, I can't do at will every time. On a good day I can get it, but I have days where I try to do one and I still can't. So people got to remember that when they see these videos, like you're seeing highlights. I might film an hour's worth of my training and edit it down to 2 minutes. Show you the best parts. You don't see the times that I fall down and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it happens.
Oh, yeah. You got to have some blooper videos out there, too.
Yeah, maybe at some point I'll put out something like that. I certainly got enough footage to do something like that. I kind of like people having that illusion, though, to a certain extent. So I don't know if I want to show the bloopers just yet.
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to ask some questions about your training and go a little deeper than I think a lot of people would go. I'd imagine, and I could be wrong here, but a lot of the listeners, do a lot of bodyweight training, and they've probably just gone beyond, just doing push-ups and sit-ups. So I'm going to get into some deep stuff that really makes how you do body weight training your own, because as you and I both know, there are so many different ways you can do it. So could you start with, what do your workouts look like? How do you put them together? I know this has evolved over the years, as it has to do, but these days, what do your workouts look like?
There's, like you said, there's so much variety, and I don't do the same thing every day or every week. But, lately I've been kind of focusing more on skills than on the typical sort of set and rep. Like, I'm going to come in and do these exercises and do 3 sets of 10 reps of them, or 5 sets of 6 reps, or whatever a lot of conventional programs call for. I might go in and say, all right, today I want to work on practicing my handstands and practicing my elbow levers and practicing my pistol squat. And, it might not be such a structured amount of sets and reps for some of those skills. And there are some days where I just, say whatever I want to do. Today I'm going to do 100 pull-ups and 100 push-ups and 100 dips or whatever, and rep out. There's a lot of variety to the way that I train. And, the main factors, I guess, that you have to manipulate when you're designing a program, and when I say designing a program, I'm using that as a very loose term, because I'm all for, certain amounts of improvising happening during a workout. But you've got the intensity, and then you've got the frequency. So when you train really intensely, you have to take more rest. Mm-hmm. And when you treat your workout more like a skill practice, it allows you to train on more days without having to take as many rest days. And I'm someone who really likes working out, so I like to try to do it like that when I can.
Yeah. When you are, so if you're working on, say, the pistol and, some certain pull-up variation, do you go one skill at a time and, working with those variations with taking rest, or are you typically going back and forth in sort of a circuit-type fashion between different exercises?
Lately, I haven't been doing as many circuits myself, because I think that it's better for pure skill work, I think, to not do a circuit, because it allows you to build off each effort a little more, because you're not doing something else and then coming back to it. Mm-hmm. But I think circuit workouts are great for a lot of people. If they don't have as much time to dedicate to training as I do, or 2, if they want to get more of a cardio component to their strength workout also. But right now, the cardio is not my top priority. Just getting my skill set as refined as I can is. So, yeah, it's usually, like you said, I'll do, say, whatever it is, skill A for 20 minutes and skill B for 20 minutes. And sometimes I might go back at the end and be like, I want to try this one a little bit more. Because sometimes if you're practicing something like a handstand, your shoulders start to get tired. It's like, all right, let me do my pistols a little bit and come back and do another one at the end. So, again, there's a lot of room for changing it up and improvising a little bit.
I have to say that's pretty much how I do my training as well, so a lot of similarity there. And it is very interesting to note that with the bodyweight training, really at the higher levels, it is so much more skill-based. Not to say there isn't a lot of strength, because there's even more strength required there, but the skill component becomes an even larger portion of it, so the training does have to reflect that.
Totally. But, the thing is, like you said, it's more when you get to more advanced skills. So, sometimes people who are beginners hear that, and it might not be the best way for a beginner to train. A beginner maybe is better off having more structure and going and taking their basic exercise and doing 3 or 4 sets of 10 or 20 reps or whatever it is, and having that structure until they start to get a good foundation laid, where then it can become more of a practice or a play or a fun thing even, hopefully.
Yeah. So regarding what exercises you do, would you call yourself really an intuitive trainer? Do you what do you want to work on today, or do you have some sort of somewhat set structure? Obviously, there's not sets and reps, but I work on this on certain days of the week or every day of the week. How do you balance that?
Sometimes priorities shift, and you might, for a couple months, get really into a certain skill and want to practice that almost every single day. And then for a little while, you might get into something else, or there might be times where you're kind of just trying to maintain everything because, it's a really busy week or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, again, I guess the intuitive trainer is probably more of what I would fall into if I had to pick between the two. But, I hate being boxed into one category or the other. So there's definitely a little bit of both.
Okay. And as far as the different skills that you're going for, do you have like a main focus at any one time typically, or do you have like a certain number of different ones? Because if you're trying to do everything all at once and trying to push everything, then you tend not to get the best results. So how many typical, I guess, goals are you going for at any one time that you're really driven and focused towards?
Well, right now, I've got these upcoming PCC workshops with Dragendorf this summer, and I'm focusing on just getting all of those skills that I'm going to be teaching as tight as I can. Because when I teach them to people, I want to have the best form and the best experience. So for right now, there's basically about 10 to 15 skills that we're going over in that. And some of them I'm better at than others, so some of them need a little more remedial work, and those are the ones I'm trying to give the most attention to right now. So the handstand and the bridge, I'm really doing a lot of those lately. But you can't just do handstands and bridges, so I'm still doing my pull-ups. I'm still doing my levers and all that other stuff in there too. But I'd say those two skills lately are the two that I'm giving the most attention to.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there. We seem to have a lot of similarities in how we train. It's very interesting.
Yeah. No, I've learned stuff from you too. You've got a lot of great content on there, and your bridge is definitely inspirational. You've supported way more weight in a bridge than I think I ever have. So that's
I have been doing the bridge for a very long time, like since I really got serious about training. So a lot of time spent on. I actually don't even do all that much with it anymore, but just having that background in it, I guess it is one of my strengths at this point.
Well, that's probably why you're so good at it, right? Because you've been doing it a long time.
Yep. Yeah.
So I've been doing pull-ups and push-ups a lot longer than I've been bridging. So that's why that one's getting a higher priority these days.
Yeah. Do you find it's the flexibility more than the strength that's holding you back, and that in the handstand? Because that's another interesting thing once you get into, I guess, some of the more advanced bodyweight training. Your weak point may not just be strength. It really depends on the skill. It can be the flexibility or just the skill of the movement or some different factors in there.
Absolutely. Something that inevitably happens when you do as much pulling as I do is your shoulders get tight. So the handstand work and the bridge work complements that really nicely. It's something I wrote about in Raising the Bar, how important it is to do handstand work and keep your shoulders mobile when you're doing a lot of pull-ups. But yeah, it's something that I'm constantly trying to make sure it doesn't become an issue and improve the mobility. It's like a tug of war. When you do your pull-up days and then you're trying to the next day or 2 days later do a handstand or a bridge day and work on mobility. So that's part of why I've been giving the handstand and the bridge a little bit more volume in my training lately, is because I feel like many years ago I did the opposite. I was doing too much pulling and got myself a little tight.
Yeah, there's always a little give and take with your different exercises.
And yeah, definitely the mobility in the shoulders and the upper back is such a big part of doing a good handstand or a good bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that you spend more time going after like the really hard skills, like always pushing the limits of what you can do with an exercise? Once you get a freestanding handstand push-up, you're going towards the tiger bend, or do you spend a lot of time just really perfecting the basics, even going back to basic push-ups every once in a while, or maybe slightly harder variations and spending time with those? Sounds like with the upcoming certification, you're obviously spending more time with everything to make sure it's perfect. But if that was not the case, how would you structure your training? How have you done it in the past? Is it more towards the really advanced, what's the best thing I can do, or more toward the basics?
Yeah, more the basics, really. I mean, you don't like a lot of the moves that I do, that people know me for on YouTube are not things that I'm doing every day in my training, because it would be too much if I did. You can't do a human flag and a one-arm pull-up every time you train, or you're going to destroy your joints. So those are kind of like things that you pull out once in a while, and the way that you get to the point where you can pull them out once in a while is, like we said, by having that really good foundation, and of course doing the skill-specific work to acquire those skills. It's kind of one of those things where over a long amount of time you can get a large arsenal, slowly, by spending a long time building a foundation. And then once you have a good foundation, starting to do more of the skill work. And, when you get good at one skill, bring another one in, and then slowly you can maintain other skills while adding new ones into the mix. And it just takes a really long time.
Absolutely. I completely agree there as well. What would you say is, how do you approach your training mentally? That's a huge subject that, I'd really like diving into myself. Just what's sort of your mindset when you enter training, and how do you do to keep yourself motivated and to make sure that you're always progressing with the results that you can get?
Well, I'm sure you're going to agree with what I'm about to say too, and probably relate to it. But when you've been working out for so long, like you or me have, it's just so ingrained into your life. And the same way that I take a shower every day, or I brush my teeth every day, or I think about what I'm going to eat every day, which I guess that's a whole other conversation. I like exercise is just such a fundamental part of my identity that it's not even something that, I have to find the motivation to work out. It's just like, of course I'm going to work out. I'm Al Kavadlo and we're working out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But beyond that, something that I always tell my clients is not to get too hung up on goals, and that's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people in the fitness industry have been saying for a long time. But I feel like when you're too hung up on a goal, either one, you get to that goal and then you're like, okay, great, I lost the 10 pounds, I can fit into my pants again, and then it's like you stop caring, or you get frustrated and give up because the goal was unrealistic and you never make it, and you're like, this program sucks, it's not going to work, it's never going to happen. But if you just focus on doing it one day at a time, making it a part of a process and part of your life. And then over time you look back and a long time has gone by and you're like, wait, okay, I'm doing this now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a time for goal setting, but also a time when, the journey itself or the process is really what you're going for, and that with that often you can find a lot more enjoyment than just always focusing on what's out there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because there absolutely is a time and a place for goal setting. Sometimes people hear me say that and they get the wrong idea. And, it's good to have, goals. It's just the problem is when people put these predetermined timelines on goals, and then they use that as a way of measuring themselves as a person. And sometimes, you don't, people are not as good at predicting the future as they think they're going to be. And things come up and you might get derailed and it might take longer. So if you say to yourself, I have to do this within 8 weeks or whatever, and it doesn't happen in 8 weeks, you think something broke or you're doing something wrong or you feel bad about yourself or the program didn't work, but it's more complicated than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's understandable. That being said, what would you say, what are some of the goals or some of the moves you'd like to accomplish in the near future?
Well, I definitely, like I said, I want to get that tiger bend push-up down better where I can do, one, do it every time I try it instead of half the time I try it not being able to get back up. And do it for multiple reps.
Right.
So that's a big one. And I'm working on getting the as Paul Wade calls it, the stand-to-stand bridge. And I'm finally getting to the point where I can drop back into it pretty good, but I'm still not able to get up out of it. So just one day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit about the training, obviously working the basics or more advanced skills, something that goes along with that, but I'd like to get a little more details. So do you find that, you're obviously not working just on sets and reps, but sometimes working easier and harder exercise, so your volume with the exercises is all over the place?
Yeah, once in a while, like I said, I try to do a day where I'm just going to do basics, to just be, pull-ups and push-ups and leg raises, or pull-ups and dips, and, some other basic exercise, and just go for a lot of reps. But that's only lately only once every week or two I'll do a day like that.
Mm-hmm.
So generally it's just, like we were saying, more skill-based stuff.
Right. Do you believe that making sure you maintain or stay consistent with that base, working sometimes with the easier stuff, it really helps to allow you to get better results with the more advanced stuff?
Yeah, absolutely, and it keeps you from getting injured too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, get the blood flow into those muscles. And you don't quite get the same, you don't get the pump the same way when you're doing the skill work as you do when you're just doing the higher rep ranges of
mm-hmm.
basic. And I think it's important to get that pump sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's also why you want to warm up when you do your skill work. So I'm always doing some sort of warm up, either push-ups or Hindu push-ups or, maybe a few pull-ups before I get into that handstand work or that bridge work. I'm not going in cold.
Right, yeah, you don't want to just jump into the hardest things you can possibly do without getting ready for it somewhat.
Exactly.
I'm all about, being ready to do things, but yeah, if you're pushing the limits of what you can do, then yeah, some warm-up is certainly necessary.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what are some of the things you do that you would say a big part of the results you've gotten, besides being consistent over the years, that you don't see a lot of other people do?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, being consistent over a lot of years. That's something I don't see a lot of other people do.
Yeah, yep.
And the few people who do tend to do that are the ones who get results. But, I think, like I mentioned before, making fitness a part of your lifestyle is the biggest thing towards long-term success.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be, something that you're trying to cheat the system or get something for doing nothing out of. You just have to really accept that, all right, if this is something I want to do, I got to really make it a part of my life, and sometimes that means sacrificing other things. But in the end, honestly, Logan, it's hard for me to understand sometimes how people don't want to work out. It's like it feels so good. Like it's not something that I feel like I had to be forced into or bargain with myself in some way to get myself to do it. And that's also because that's part of why I guess I found myself being a trainer. And not
mm-hmm.
to say that I'm unsympathetic to people who have a hard time with working out, because there's things that I have a hard time with too that maybe I should be able to do better. But for me, fitness has always been a natural and fun thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I won't say it's always been that way, but once I started it was largely the bodyweight training that I started to see actual results from it rather than doing the classical commercial gym stuff that wasn't really working, but also having a lot of fun with it. Then, once you get there, if you can find training that's fun, then obviously you're going to want to make it a part of your life because it's something fun that you get to do every single day. And then if you don't do it, I actually, if I don't work out for a few days, I start feeling grumpy and depressed a bit because, it is such a part of me that if I don't get moving, then I'm not feeling that great.
Yeah. It's also, it's who you surround yourself with. When you work in the fitness profession, a lot of your friends become other trainers, and you're just around that vibe all the time. So it's just so deeply ingrained in you. But, for a lot of people, they don't know anyone else who's into working out, so they can't talk to anyone else about it really. Or they don't have that much in their life where it's relevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it can. That's part of why it's great that people like you and me are out there on the web interacting with people. So if they don't have anybody out there that they can talk about working out with, it's good that we're providing that.
Yep. There's always.
But yeah, it's easy to take for granted when you're someone like you and myself. That this is what you do. How do you not work out?
Yeah. Yep. It's just such a part of our life. We can't understand how other people aren't there.
But I'm feeling a lot of the people listening to this, we're preaching to the choir. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you have a new book, Pushing the Limits, that just came out recently. Can you tell us a bit about this book?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's pure body weight. My last book was all about exercises you can do with a pull-up bar, and this one has taken the whole minimalism thing to the next level. Every exercise in this book, with one or two exceptions, requires nothing except the floor. So no excuses. Everybody's got a floor. If you don't have a floor, you got much bigger problems than worrying about this book. And, so it goes over a lot of what we were talking about, push-ups and lots of different kinds of them, squats and, everything up to the pistol squat, and the bridge and the other inversions, the handstands, headstands, etc. They're all in there. And I'm really excited about it. We actually, right now only have it available as an ebook, but the
Mm-hmm.
paper book is going to be coming later this month. And it's one of those books, you know, if you've seen other Dragon Door products, and I know you have, but not everyone listening necessarily has, they're big, colorful books that you really can hold on to and have a real experience with. And I'm really excited. I actually haven't even gotten my hands on an actual copy of this book yet. I'm going to, hopefully, very soon. But it's just an exciting thing to have the book in front of you, and I can't wait for it.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, Dragon Door's always done a real good job with laying out their books, and I am a guy that just loves to be able to hold it in my hand. I spend enough time in front of the computer. I don't like to read my books on that as well, so I'll definitely be waiting for the paperback.
I mean, I know that the ebook is a very popular format nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally get that people are into that, but for me personally, I love having the actual book in my hand and seeing the ink on the page.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with also a lot of people that work out seem to be that, just because, we're hands-on type of guys. We enjoy the movement and everything, so being able to hold something, there's something to that I've seen a correlation in that versus people that just like the digital stuff, though definitely there are those as well in the exercise world.
I think you're right. I think that's a good point.
Yeah. So what would you say sets this book apart from some of the other bodyweight training products, like even convict conditioning? What sets your book apart from that?
Well, the thing that makes this book different is that it's me. And, convict conditioning is Paul Wade's take on a lot of the same type of exercises.
Uh-huh.
But, he and I don't agree about all the specifics of everything. We agree about probably 95% of stuff, but there's a few places where we diverge. And, part of what I love so much about these books that I've done with Dragon Door is the photos and doing the photos and getting to take pictures all over the city. A big part of my branding, if you will, is being outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a blast for me. And a lot of people, have told me that that's one of their favorite things about Raising the Bar, is just all the great full-color photos in there. So that's a big part of what makes this book really special.
Okay, excellent. Well, yeah, if you're listening, you can pick that up at Dragon Door. Actually, by the time I post this interview, the paperback version may be out. Also, if you're on my website listening to this there, I'll have links over to it. Any final thoughts, things that you want to share before we go for today?
Oh, man, just I'm really excited about everything that's happening right now in the bodyweight community. It seems like the whole thing is just getting bigger and bigger all the time. And there's so much positivity about it, and everybody's so supportive of everybody else. And it's really good talking to you and being your guest here. And yeah, it's a really exciting time for all of us.
Actually, I did have one more question regarding the bodyweight certification program. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how excited you are to be a part of such a big thing? I was just going over the detail, and it really is quite comprehensive, everything that you're going to be teaching there.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a real honor when Paul Wade asked me if I would do it, and it's going to be great. This is as far as I know the first real official certification of this kind, and it's going to be 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day, doing various bodyweight skills, learning not only how to perform them but how to teach them to others. This is ideally a trickle-down thing. So these people who come and take PCC are going to go out and train clients and maybe work at gyms or work independently, open their own studios, and start taking this to the mainstream public. My hope is that over time, the type of training that you and I are doing is going to be something that everybody is aware of, the same way they're aware of running and, other things that are happening out there in mainstream fitness.
Right, yeah. So many people still think the only way to get fit was to go out there and jog or go lift weights in the gym, but that is changing.
Nothing against those things, but this is a whole other thing that a lot of people would enjoy that they don't even really know about.
Yeah, we're on the forefront of that, so of course we're living it and see it every day, but that doesn't mean everyone is there, so it really is that whole trickle-down effect like you said, I mean, happened with kettlebells and bodyweight training that's been growing just over the years. And because it is something that, doesn't require any equipment and you can go so far with it, I can only see more and more people doing it in the future.
That's what we're hoping for. I mean, the RKC has continued to be such a successful venture for Dragon Door, and they've got dozens of different RKC workshops going on all over the world all the time. So we're hoping that over the course of several years, this PCC can grow as big and even bigger than that. Yeah,
I think it will happen.
Right on. That's obviously what we think too. So it's good to know we got your support.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for this interview, Al. It was a good time, and it was very interesting to see that even without having really talked about in detail before, that our approaches are very similar, which must mean that, we're both doing something right.
Yeah, I guess it works.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and look forward to another call coming up next week.
All right.
Once again,
thanks,
you can get Pushing the Limits and also Al's other materials at Dragon Door. If you're on Legendary Strength, you'll see links to everything available over there. I'll talk to you next time.
All right, thanks.